The next talker is Marte Aas. She's a photographer and filmmaker. Aas is thematically interested in the human landscape and issues connected to contemporary image culture. She is educated from the School of Photography at the University of Gothenburg and has had a number of solo exhibitions in Norway and abroad. And her last major exhibition was Space Grammar at the Center of Photography in Copenhagen in Denmark in 2018. And Marte is going to present and show one of her films for us now.
Yes. So, hi. As Lotte said, my name is Marte Aas, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker working within the field of visual arts. And I have caught something in my throat. It's a bacteria there, living there now, so I apologize for my a bit fragile voice, but I'm trying to go through this, or to get through this. So thank you for inviting me, Lotte. It's great to be here, and thank you, Eivind, for a very nice lecture. Very interesting, and scary as well. I guess that I have been invited to this agenda on the basis of some of my recent works, which may have something to do with the subject of the day, climate. And I want to show you two of these works, the lithography series called Solastalgia, and a film I made last year called What I Miss About People and What I Don't Miss About People. Can you hear me all? Am I close enough to the microphone? Yeah, good. But first, I want to give you a short introduction to this field of interest for me and how I've kind of come to make these two projects. I've always been interested in the concept of landscape. I've been interested in how we relate to the landscape, how we use and inhabit the landscape, how we arrange and structure it, and how ideas about the landscape, or maybe the natural, is connected to history, politics, and ideology. And this image that I've chosen to start showing you is, as you can see, two images, one of the Panama Canal and an image from, what is it called? It's called Jubail, industrial city in Saudi Arabia. Both of them examples of how man is, or how we are altering the landscape by our interventions in a very large scale. Now, the traditional idea of landscape or the nature is that it's something separated from us and from what we call culture. It is something available for us to use and a great tool for us to exploit for our advantage. It's something to master with our gaze and our tools and our ideas. But the concept of landscape and the natural have changed quite a bit these last years. And the reason for this is, of course, the climate threat and the global challenges connected to environment, as well as globalization and also, I would say, free market economic systems. The planet is warming up. The polar ice is melting, as we saw just by Øyvind's lecture. And man has made major interventions on the surface of the Earth. And the term often used and connected to this is the concept of the Anthropocene, as you all probably are very familiar with by now. It has been quite a trendy concept to use. And the Anthropocene is a concept coming from the natural sciences, and more specific, the field of geology, and describes a new epoch of geological time in which human activity is considered such a powerful influence on the environment, climate and ecology of the planet, that it will leave a long-term signature in the strata record, that is, on the surface of the Earth. I have to put this paper down like this. And I guess the term is well established by now within many discourses and disciplines in the borderland between natural sciences, humanities, and art. And the term provides a changed perspective on human relationship with the natural forces and our deep geological time. Nature is no longer a force that is separated from and ambivalent to human activity. The Anthropocene has become a powerful narrative that eradicates the previous divide between man and culture, or maybe culture and nature. Man forms nature in the Anthropocene, and man and nature is one. There is nothing outside culture anymore. No longer an outside, a margin, and elsewhere to dump the waste products of human activities. There is no environment and no nature separate from us, and there is no ecology that could be in balance if we just withdrew from it. And the story of the Anthropocene is a big narrative used to describe the changes in our conditions. And it's changing the way we have to think of ourselves and this planet. But it has also some kind of a prophetic and apocalyptic twist to it. It predicts the end of the world with mankind at the steering wheel. And that's quite scary, isn't it? But there are some obvious problems with this kind of big narrative as well. It has been criticized for being arrogant, universalist, and capitalist technocratic. Arrogant because the designation of the Anthropocene, the new age of humans, make man the superspecies that have ended nature. So man is in the middle of everything. And as such only embeds the narcissist delusion that have produced the current crisis. It's been criticized for being universalist because the Anthropocene assumes the generalized anthropos, a general man, whereby all humans are equally implicated and all equally affected. But as we also could see from Evan's lecture, because of this new age of the humans lays in the way, wealthy countries create a global landscape of inequality. And the poor and the dispossessed are far more in it than the others, or than us. And also, it is, or it can be criticized for being capitalist technocratic because the dominant narrative of the Anthropocene has technology as its driver. And in this sort of narrative, it is easy to think that technology also provides a quick fix to repair the damages. For example, scientists are working with this geoengineering idea that it is possible to cool down the planet by pumping up small fine crystals of salt, seawater, into the atmosphere or stratosphere to increase the cloud production and then thereby cloud reflectivity to decrease the global warming. So because of this, it has been argued that the Anthropocene is not the geology of a species at all, but rather the geology of a system, capitalism, and that it should be renamed as the Capitalocene. So, I have no time to go more into this now. I have been given 15 minutes, and I hope I will manage to keep the 50 minutes. But nevertheless, inspired by this and also other concepts, I began to think about this man-made nature and what this change of view represents. And trying to get a grasp of the elements that we know are such an irrevocably part of. I started to photograph in a granite quarry in Larvik, south of Oslo. And this is a picture from one of my exhibitions showing this series. It's from the Photographic Center in Copenhagen. But wanting to make the representation, I started to photograph there in this quarry, but wanting to make it more material and maybe more tactile, I came up with the idea to make lithographs out of this, the images. And as you probably know, lithographs are prints transferred to paper by stones, by limestone. So it is stone prints. And I wanted, therefore, to make pictures of stone made by stones. So like some kind of tautology or some kind of circle reasoning. And in this process, I also got fantastic help from some of your teachers. Erik Solheim and Bror Mikkel Borg at KIO, at the printmaker department. And by doing this, I wanted to leave some of the traces of the stone in the representation, if that is possible. And I wanted to retain an experience of presence, maybe, in the photographs, of some kind of bodily presence. And here are some of the prints that I made. And the title of this series is Solastalgia. And solastalgia is a new term coined by Australian philosopher Glenn Albrecht, and it means a form of psychological or existential distress caused by an environmental change. So you probably all know the term nostalgia. This is kind of a new word made out of nostalgia, but it doesn't describe sentimentality for the past. It describes sentimentality for the changes in the present due to climate changes. And when I was working in this environment in the stone quarry, the place felt so ambivalent, because in one hand it's a very pragmatic place. Men, always men, no female working there. Men are cutting granite blocks out of the mountain, and it's a very specific and pragmatic task. And the place is also very fascinating and beautiful because of the lights and shadows and the kind of surfaces. Creates a very strong presence of geometry. But at the same time, the place feels so desolate and dead and almost violent, because the scars in the landscape from man's interventions are so visible and so present. And for me, it became almost like a series from a post-apocalyptic science fiction movie. And that's what made me think about science fiction, and that led me to wanting to make a science fiction film from the same place. And this is the film that I'm going to end this presentation with. It is a post-apocalyptic vision of what the future might look like. And I guess that it's an attempt to shift the perspective and suggest a different view than the anthropocentric view. Because it's a film that is about a dog, and the dog is, I've given the dog a voice, so the dog is speaking. The film is called What I Miss About People and What I Don't Miss About People. And I guess that I also wanted to pinpoint that the fact that we see man as the benchmark of all things might be one of the reasons why we are in this situation with our climate under control. And thinking about science fiction, I wanted to also quote one of my favorite science fiction writers, Ursula K Le Guin. She died this year, but she has been active for many years as a science fiction writer and also as a political debate person. And she says, "Relationship among all things appear to be complex and reciprocal, always at least two-way, back and forth. It seems that nothing is single in this universe and nothing goes one way. Descartes and the behaviorists willfully saw dogs as machines without feeling. Is seeing plants as without feeling a similar arrogance? One way to stop seeing trees or rivers or hills only as natural resources is to class them as fellow beings, as kinfolk." So the film What I Miss About People and What I Don't Miss About People is my attempt to tell a story from the perspective of one of our kinfolk. So how can I get out of this? Yeah. And start the film. I have to check the sound first, maybe, don't I? I'm sorry for this. Lyd. Yeah. Okay. Så, snuffing.
I miss walks in the morning and in the evening, but not the walks right after dinner. I don't miss newspapers. I miss things made of steel and hard plastic and rubber, but not things made of aluminium, thin plastic, or ground stone slabs. I miss the smell of fat people jogging. I miss linoleum flooring, but not laminate flooring. I miss no fitted carpets. I don't miss loneliness in the mornings, people who laugh loudly, back seats in cars, cages, or those who smile for no reason. I miss the smell of quilts that have been aired and are cold. I miss leather car seats, leather chairs, leather shoes, and the smell of marijuana and tea with milk, but not coffee without milk. I do not miss women with short hair who nag, or electric cars. people sitting. I miss the smell of wool, but not the taste. I miss bonfires, but not the smell of cellars and mould and potatoes. I do not miss dried food or vegetables, candy floss or caramels. I miss old pillows that smelled of families, but not impregnated jackets. I miss water that tastes of iron, and milk, and apples, and red refrigerated meat. I don't miss things that boil or have been boiled. If I've forgotten things, there are small things that are easy to forget. I miss the smell of fresh rubber, and grapes, and fridges, navels, and freshly washed mittens drying on the radiator. I do not miss my own name, but I miss that someone calls it. I don't miss fish with bones, or rubbish, or the smell from canary cages. I don't miss popcorn. Sometimes I miss skylights, which were open and sometimes rained in. When I wake up after sleeping in the daytime, I sometimes miss a warm living room. I miss the warmth of the fireplace in the winter, but not the heating cables in the bathroom in the summer. I don't miss any alarms or cars that toot. Music with woodwind, but not brass bands or fireworks. I don't miss celebrations or trips to new places. I don't miss the smell of alcohol. I don't miss cats, guinea pigs, hamsters, or goldfish. I miss routines. I don't miss any special weekday.